Jensen, Sarif had me hack the convention center security logs for you. Sandoval signed out. He isn't there.
Taggart will know where he went.
You really think he'll tell you in the middle of a riot? In front of all the media?
He will if I ask real nice.
Well, if that doesn't work, he also has a dressing room backstage. Seems to me a man like Taggart must keep close track of his employees. Speaking of which, I also backtraced that breach in our own firewall. The one Sarif opened but forgot to tell us about.
The one he was using right before he hired me. Right.
Looks like our boss was being chatty with a private detective named Brent Radford. He lives on Earl's Court, in case you want to get chatty with him too.
Human evolution is a fantasy, but that is exactly what I am telling you. As a world...
Where's your sidekick, Taggart? 6 months ago, Sarif Industries was attacked by mercenaries whose objective was to cripple our research. But I've learned the attack was just a smokescreen. Megan Reed's team was kidnapped, and Isaiah Sandoval, your personal aide, was involved.
That is ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for Mr. Jensen's intrusion, and I assure you that these accusations are without basis.
Are they?
This is Sandoval. Why are you calling me here?
There's been a change of plans. Sarif's team must not make it to the hearing.
But that's too soon. If you want me to remove the GPLs, I'll need a full operating suite. Does the facility have one?
That's your man, Taggart. Talking about removing implanted GPL devices so that the people who took Sarif scientists could cover it up.
I see what's going on here. Sarif Industries has received 2 black eyes in the last few days. The first, due to the shocking news coming out of Montreal that biotech companies are secretly participating in unethical super soldier experiments. And the second, as a result of their violent escalation of today's peaceful protest. David Sarif and his corporate bedfellows are desperate and in imminent danger of losing the regulation vote, so this man has been sent here to attack my reputation.
I'm right here, Taggart. Look at me. I admit, I wouldn't feel bad if your reputation was damaged in front of the press, since you've been doing the same to my colleagues for years, but that's not why I'm here. Sarif scientists are alive, and it's time for the truth to come out.
The truth, Mr. Jensen, is that this recording of yours proves nothing. It could have been made by anyone in the world with a grudge against Humanity Front, and you are our prime suspect.
You got a lot of nerve to accuse me of lying. I'm not the one standing in front of a crowd of people hiding my involvement in kidnapping and murder.
My involvement, Mr. Jensen? Your recording doesn't prove that. My heart goes out to you. Perhaps it's best that you came to me rather than bringing this recording to the police. You need it to be some kind of proof because you're still suffering. You're trying to find someone else to blame for the emotional trauma you experienced when you woke up from that surgery and discovered you were no longer quite human.
The reason I'm obsessed with the past, Taggart, is that there are still 5 people missing and their attackers haven't paid for what they did. Your refusal to help me is getting in the way of justice.
Well, of course, justice is very important to me, naturally. What I question is whether or not you're on the right path to find it. If you could see your situation clearly, you would realize you're being driven by your losses. Your actions are motivated by an attempt to regain a sense of control at my expense. You're turning me into your enemy when I'm not.
I don't have to make you my enemy, Taggart. Your actions speak for themselves. You started the anti-augmentation movement, and now anti-augmentation terrorist groups are making headlines every day. You always say Humanity Front isn't violent. But look outside. We're seeing proof that it is.
The violence is a terrible thing. I do not advocate it, but nor can I deny it exists. From the very day I founded Humanity Front, I made it clear that the group would be devoted to non-violent resistance. To deviate from this would mean dishonoring the memory of the very woman whose murder caused me to found the organization. Mr. Jensen, how can you possibly accuse me of doing otherwise?
What happened to your wife was tragic. But what's happening to Sarif scientists is going on right now, and you have a chance to do something about it. You have nothing to lose if Sandoval's innocent. And if he isn't, you can preserve your reputation by helping me. Why won't you do that?
Because I just can't believe Isaiah would be guilty of this, but you're right. Whether he's guilty or not, I have to get to the truth. Marjorie would want it that way. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but I'm going to have to beg your indulgence for a few moments more. If you will all please remain patient, I will return as soon as I can. Thank you. Mr. Jensen, I'll see you backstage. Mr. Jensen, I appreciate you allowing me to deal with this in a more discreet manner.
Save it, Taggart. You've wasted enough of my time as it is. Now, where's Sandoval?
He has an apartment he uses when in this city, on Grand River Road. He mentioned he was feeling very run down, so I can only assume he went there.
I see.
He's not an evil man, Mr. Jensen. If he's done what you say, it's only because of his brother, Ezekiel. A man you might know better as Zeke Sanders.
Sanders? The man who attacked Sarif's manufacturing plant?
I knew nothing about it until after it was over, and then I tried. I tried to convince Isaiah not to follow in his footsteps.
Good job.
Mr. Jensen, please. Isaiah has done so much for so many needy people, people suffering from implant rejection. Promise me you will deal with him fairly.
That all depends on Isaiah.
I understand, but please try.
Pritchard, looks like Sandoval's got a secret bunker. I'm gonna flush him out.
Let's hope he's still there.
And this is why I urge every member of my staff, every man and woman dedicated to the true mission of the Humanity Front, to do the same. Isaiah, if you're watching this, I beg you, do not allow misplaced anger to destroy everything we have struggled to achieve.
It's over. He knows I can't come back from that.
Everybody knows, Sandoval. You can't hide from what you've done.
What I've done, Mr. Jensen. I spent years patching people back together from augmentation botch jobs and systemic organ rejection brought on by implants. And now, because of Bill's betrayal, I'll never practice medicine again.
You really want to help someone? Tell me where Sarif scientists are.
I wish I could, Mr. Jensen. But my involvement ended right after I failed to remove their GPLs.
You failed?
Turns out, my surgical skills weren't good enough to bypass David Sarif's insurance policy. So for all I know, those little implants are broadcasting right now, on a frequency so low your network specialist wouldn't think to look for it.
You changed the frequencies.
You have your answers, Mr. Jensen. And I've lost all of mine. The courts may think I have much to atone for, but my court will be a higher one.
How about I take that gun with me when I go?
You got everything you came for. Please, just leave.
Believe it or not, I'd rather you didn't kill yourself.
That's because you have no idea what tortures I've endured. The guilt, the shame. I was told the scientists would be used to find a peaceful solution to the augmentation crisis. Instead, I was involved in kidnapping and murder. My life ended that night. It's time for me to go.
Think about it. Are you really in such a hurry to face that higher court of yours?
At least there are no lies before God. Did you see that abominable press conference? William Taggart all but accused me of terrorism. He claimed that all the violence committed in the name of our cause was the result of my influence.
So stay alive long enough to tell him your side of the story.
He already knows it isn't true. I trusted that man. For years I gave him loyal service, And he betrayed me! He sacrificed my freedom and good name to save the reputation of his organization! It's no use fighting him. He'll just spin it again. At least if I die, he'll never be able to use me again!
So that's your plan? Just lay down and die so you can't be used again? That's bullshit. You need to face what's coming. There's a very thin line between martyr and victim, Sandoval. And if you pull the trigger, you won't be remembered as either.
You certainly like taking chances, Mr. Jensen. But your point has merit. Maybe I did give up too easily. It wasn't enough to be a doctor. Or to attack the infection at its source with Humanity Front. I had to try harder to help people, and I pushed too far. What else could I have done? How do people live in a world surrounded by human misery every day? Or am I the only person who feels this way?
I hear what you're saying. You care too much. I know what that's like. Too well. Because I've been there. You want to fix everything right away. You want it so much you start trying too hard. Trust me, if you deal with the smaller, easier stuff first, the big things don't look so big.
I've heard that before. It has more meaning somehow, coming from someone like you. Huh. Some doctor. Some Catholic I turned out to be. Planning and participating in a kidnapping that resulted in the deaths of innocent bystanders. I am a mass murderer! My wife. I don't deserve her. Losing her is a just punishment. Except I'm not man enough to face it.
You think you're a failure, but you're not. You're just a man who doesn't understand his own potential yet. You can still channel your regrets into something positive. Be an example. Teach people why violence isn't the answer. You've suffered way too much to let all that experience go to waste.
I don't understand. We're enemies, but you want me to live. I deserve to die. In fact, I welcome it. But you won't let me go that easily. You've assigned me a task I cannot refuse. Take the gun. You win.
Pritchard, get this. The GPLs are still transmitting. Sandoval switched them to a lower frequency.
But they could be broadcasting anywhere in the world. I don't have the type of equipment we'll need to find them.
It's our only lead, Pritchard. You have to do something.
I know. Listen, the riot's still blocking the street entrance. Head back to your apartment and Malik will fly you over. Maybe by the time you get here, I'll have figured out something.
You don't need to babysit me, Mr. Jensen. I have no intention of killing myself anymore. Nor will I resist arrest when the police arrive. I assume your people have already contacted them?
If they haven't yet, they will be soon.
Then go. Use the information I gave you to track down your scientists. With any luck, they will still be alive.
The men who kidnapped them. The soldiers.
I don't know who they were. Only last names. Barrett and Namir. I sensed they were highly trained professionals.
Working for who?
I didn't ask. My brother, Ezekiel, put them in touch with me.
Your brother? Not Taggart?
Bill wouldn't be so stupid as to get his own hands dirty. I see that now. He's like Teflon. Nothing ever sticks.
Nice detective work, Jensen. You ready to return to HQ?
Yeah. Let's hope Pritchard's found that frequency.
You said it. Hey, I got a message for you, Jensen. From Pritchard. He says he's not in the office.
Great.
So what exactly am I supposed to do?
I don't know. He said you should check in with the boss.
Sarif?
David's just stepped out for a moment, Mr. Jensen. But do come in. I've been hoping to meet you.
Mr. Darrow. I'm surprised you even know who I am.
David speaks very highly of you. He says that when it comes to detective work, you are like a dog with a bone. Have you found your scientist yet?
What else did David tell you?
Over the years, plenty. But today I'm here as a friend and fellow scientist. Things are getting quite turbulent out there, wouldn't you agree? So many people drunk on revolution. The United Nations being urged to intervene. And all because of the technology I created.
Things have come a long way since then.
Haven't they? And now my old friend David wants me to lead us to the Promised Land. He's asked me to invite members of the UN to Panchaea, to convince them we don't need industry regulation.
Your geoengineering project in the Arctic Ocean.
The installation couldn't have been built without the assistance of augmented workers. And when it's finished, my little hole in the ocean is going to stop global warming. A lovely photo op, wouldn't you say?
If it works.
You mean, if it doesn't kill us all?
Adam? You're back. Can I speak to you outside? Get to the helipad, son. You're going back to Hengsha Island. Frank tracked down one of the GPLs.
Only one? Is it?
Sevchenko's. But Adam, we had to call in a favor of the DOD to do it.
Meaning, the conspirators probably know I'm coming.
Boss said we're heading back to Hengsha?
Pritchard tracks Sevchenko's GPL signal. If he's alive, there's a chance the rest of them are too.
That's a pretty big leap, Jensen.
We've been making big leaps for a while now.
Whatever you say. You ready to get going?
No time like the present. Let's get going.
Then hop in.